What's cracking, y'all? You are now watching Boo TV. Appreciate you for stopping in. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, stay notified, and let's get into the topic for today.
Now, there's been a lot of talk this season with people making very direct comparisons to Michael Jordan and Ant Edwards. And even some people were saying it's the closest thing they've ever seen to Jordan, as if Kobe Bryant didn't exist. But that's a story for another day. Now, if you've been watching this channel, you've never heard me say anything like that. You'll hear me say that I love Anthony Edwards. I think he has a lot of promise. I think he can potentially be the future face of the league. I don't think he's quite there yet. I see shades of Michael Jordan. I see some similarities, especially off the court as well. That's all you've heard me say. I've largely stayed away from the comparisons because I just don't see enough there consistently, at least yet, to say that the comparison is strong. Like I said, do I see shades of Jordan at times? Absolutely I do. It's just my opinion. I like Ant Edwards. I hate the Timberwolves because I don't like Karl-Anthony Towns and Gobert, but I do love Ant. And before his big breakout season, I was one of the few people saying that Ant is already a better player than Cat, and he is the player everyone wanted Cat to be. I was already saying that in Ant Edwards' second year. Cat has an Anthony Davis mentality. Talented, but with a beta personality. And thinks he's better than he actually is. And I get it about Edwards. Ant is dazzling. Super athletic, full of energy, brass, mojo, humble, yet still a smack talker. Love to see it. I really do. Young Jordan persona to agree, most definitely. I get some of the comparisons. I do. The size, ball handling, though probably a little bit shorter than Mike, I think. The relentlessness, got a mid-range game to him. Pretty decent turnaround jumper, still needs some work. Not as crisp as Mike's and Kobe's yet. Not yet. Ant Edwards actually reminds me more of Dwayne Wade, to be honest. I would even say that Ant Edwards probably has a better body build than Mike when they're the same age. He's 22 now. And it was years before Mike really put on muscle and got in the gym because the Detroit Pistons and that rugged Eastern Conference forced him to strengthen his body. Ant Edwards doesn't quite have the grace like Michael Jordan, the finesse, the aerial artistry like MJ had. He doesn't have that, but as far as like the dunk package and the athleticism jumping high, yeah, for sure. Can see it. Love Ant. But there were a few times this season where Anthony Edwards kind of lost me in separate events. And I started pumping the brakes on this guy just a little bit because I was starting to question his mentality just a little. The first one was where Karl-Anthony Towns had that big offensive explosion for 62 points, if I'm not mistaken. It was at least 60 points. And coincidentally, during that game, another game was going on involving the Philadelphia 76ers, where Joel Embiid put up 70 points. Monster effort. At which point, Cat and the rest of the T-Wolves were following the events of Embiid during their game and actively cheering Cat on to stat pad and play outside of the game of basketball just so that he could try to usurp Joel Embiid's point total that game. They admitted to this. The Timberwolves did. Ant did. And the Timberwolves ended up losing that game in their stat padding efforts after being up huge. It was against the Charlotte Hornets. And Edwards played a role in that. And I was like, hold up, pump the brakes. He isn't as mature as I thought he was. And I'm not as sold on him as I used to be. And I'm definitely out on this team because their youth and immaturity is showing. I said all that. I did. Made a video about it. They were still kids, and they didn't have that championship medal yet. And the other situation was where, after that atrocious All-Star game this year, where Larry Bird was dying inside, his inner soul was disintegrating watching it. Edwards was asked post-game, what can the NBA do to make it more competitive and get these players to compete in the All-Star game? And Ant's response was something basically like, man, we're just here to relax. We're just here to chill. I don't know what the league can do to make us compete. Basically is what he said. Now, I put out a video about this back then, and I couldn't believe what Ant said. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't know what the league can do to make you all compete? How about you all actually try to play some defense and actually give a damn and go out and compete? They shouldn't keep giving you incentives to want to go out and perform, even in an all-star game. All the players of the past used to do it. They used to play hard in all-star games. I'm not saying they were playing like it was Game 7 of the NBA Finals, but they put forth an effort. They didn't want to lose. They weren't going out there, ha, 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 he, he, ha, you're my friend, you're my buddy. Let's just shoot a bunch of threes and not play defense. There were players back then that used to make the all-star game strictly on their defense. So what you think they was trying to do when they got in the all-star game? Show you how and why they are there. Playing defense. I'm just saying. But you can go watch my video about that if you want to hear me rant about the All-Star game. But you get what I'm saying. You never had to ask Jordan to compete in any situation that he was in. He was always competitive, always dialed in, even in an All-Star game. So it was definitely those two situations where I started pulling back some of my stock in Anthony Edwards. And I felt like he still had some more maturing to do, and that mentality still needs some watering and growing to do. And then recently, after the T-Wolves got their first win in the series against Dallas that just recently ended, Ant Edwards basically says in the post-game presser that he was happy, or the team was happy, whatever. He was happy that they just didn't get swept. They didn't want to get swept. I'm like, wow. It's one thing that you said that, but I know that in your heart of hearts, you mean that, and that's how you feel, because he's pretty honest in his pressers, in his post-game comments. So he actually felt that way. And that right there told me they had a 0% chance of winning this series, let alone the percentages attached to being down 3-0 at one point. Just happy you didn't get swept? That was your goal here? There wasn't any, we're just happy we got our foot in the door to give ourselves another chance to win another game back home in front of our home crowd. This was about saving the embarrassment of getting swept. What? I think it's far more embarrassing going out how y'all did following that comment now, based on how they came out at home with a chance of extending the series. That tells me he was 100% absolutely correct and believed that. That was far more embarrassing than actually getting swept, to be honest. These guys got absolutely mollywopped. They did not show up to the game at all. I don't even know why they walked in the building, because it's like they weren't even there. No shows. Absent. It was all over their body language. You could feel the energy in the team that they had none. They walked onto that court already defeated. Why the hell did you even show up to play? Why waste your time putting these jerseys on? Giving the fans some kind of false hope before tip-off. And the fans had every reason to believe that they had a chance of winning, considering how close all of these games have been. No fight in them at all. No fight. No fight. The game was honestly never close. And the final score isn't even indicative of how much of a blowout the game actually was. At one point, I think the Mavs went up by over 30 points, 35 points, something like that. At one point, there was no sense of urgency. It was literally the body language of a team that won one game prior and were happy with not getting swept. Mission accomplished. What Fox McCloud say in Super Smash Brothers?
Mission complete.
Mission complete. That was the Minnesota Timberwolves after avoiding the sweep in Game 4. They did everything they had to do. I'm very upset that they beat the Denver Nuggets because, the Nuggets wouldn't have went out like this against the Mavs. Not like this. They wouldn't have. They would not at all. They would not have. Not like this. This was a sorry display of heart and basketball by the Minnesota Timberwolves. Again, mentality. Mentality. And mentality can drip out onto the basketball court and through the locker room. Jordan's career wasn't perfect, but he would never. So like I said, Ant still has a ways to go, in my opinion. He's not there yet. People really trying to force Ant down everybody's throat, especially, after the series in Phoenix, and even more so after they took down the Denver Nuggets and how he was playing. They was trying to force Ant down everybody's throat early. Oh, he's the face of the league. Oh, he's the best player in the league. Look, I love Ant, but pump the brakes. Can we please crawl before we walk with this guy? If Luka and Kyrie showed them anything, it's that there are levels to this. You can't show up big for one series or a game here or there. You have to be that beast for 4 series. Through and through. Now ultimately, with regards to Edward, his skills and game will speak for itself and, mask up some of the other things that I'm picking up on. But some of the intangibles, the mindset, I expect those things to fully come around with age and experience. But he's not there yet. I told them, once you beat the Denver Nuggets, job not finished. You did not become the champion because you took down the champions in the second round. You have to do that in the finals. I remember during all this Ant talk, someone said he really don't remind me of Kobe because Kobe was so damn serious most of the time. And you're damn right Kobe was. Because if Ant was all the way cut like the Black Mamba or even Jordan, he would hold his soft-ass teammate Karl Anthony Towns accountable and stomp his soft ass into the dirt. Ant literally said he's always happy, even in losses. That ain't Jordan. That ain't Kobe. Because if they wasn't winning, they was going to let you and everyone else know they wasn't happy. I kind of hope Ant keeps running into Luka and the Mavs and they keep losing. Then you could really make the Jordan comparisons. Like when Mike kept running into the Boston Celtics and Larry Bird and losing early in his career. It's just a funny thought. Yeah, but, it's just history repeating itself, right? Joke. Really, not really. Joke. Anyway, that's all I got to say about it, folks. I appreciate you guys for stepping in. Let me know what you think about it. And I'll catch y'all on the next one. We out, baby.